Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this very exciting and much look forward to session, the Fireside Chat on Financial Inclusion, Breaking New Grounds. We would like to welcome our esteemed guest, a guest of honor for this Fireside Chat, Shri Dinesh Khara, Chairman SBI. He does not need much introduction from me, but to sort of do the do's. Mr. Khara is the chairman, as you all know, of the country's largest bank, the State Bank of India. Having joined as probationary officer in 1984, he has led the bank in different facets. Before assuming as chairman, Mr. Khara had held several key positions in SBI, such as MD Global Banking and Subsidiaries, MD Associates and Subsidiaries, MD and CEO SBI Mutual Funds, and CGM Bhopal Circuit. He was also posted at Chicago for an overseas assignment. As managing director, he has led the international banking group, large corporates and treasury operations in India, and to the non-banking subsidiaries of the bank, such as SBI Cards, SBI MF, and so on. He also seamlessly executed the merger of 5 erstwhile associate banks and Bharatiya Mahila Bank with SBI. Additionally, he's also headed the risk, IT, compliance functions of the bank at various points. Mr. Khara is a postgraduate in commerce from Delhi School of Economics and an MBA from FMS New Delhi. He's also a certified associate of Indian Institute of Bankers, CAHB. Mr. Khara is passionate about reading and has traveled extensively across the world. A hearty welcome, sir, from all of us here.
Thank you.
And yes, Tamal Bandyopadhyay, he needs no introduction for all those who of us have visited the summit for over, last 2 decades. Tamal Bandyopadhyay is an award-winning author and columnist. His weekly column, Bankers Trust, now published in Business Standard, is widely read for its incisive analysis and informed opinion. His latest book, Pandemonium, The Great Indian Banking Tragedy, has won the KLF Business Book Award of the year 2020-21. This is his sixth book, all of which have been non-fiction bestsellers. Tamal is also the consulting editor with Business Standard and senior advisor of Jana Small Finance Bank. He has won the Ramnath Goenka Award for Excellence in Journalism in 2017. Tamal is one of the contributors to the Oxford Handbook on Indian Economy, edited by Kaushik Basu, and Making of New India, Transformation under Modi Government, edited by Bibek Debroy. Global Professional Network LinkedIn nominated him one of the most influential voices in India for 3 consecutive years, 2017 to 2019. Thank you, Tamal, very much for agreeing to host this fireside chat, and over to you for this very exciting discussion. Thank you so much, and again, welcoming both of you.
And welcome, Mr. Khara. Minal, I wish you were a little shorter about me. Mr. Khara is the center of attraction, not me. So let's not waste our time. Sure. Let's go straight. Let me add a few things which you have not said. State Bank of India, like one out of every 3 Indian is State Bank's customer. 1/5 of the banking industry, State Bank is the only bank among the top 50 in the world in terms of size. It has 1.59 lakh touch points across India. In July this year, in fact, it opened its ATM at Khardungla Pass in Leh, an altitude of 18,379 feet. This is the world's highest motorable pass. So inclusion, Mr. Khara is doing even logistically, going nobody else has got. Some more information is this, SBI, because it's all about financial inclusion. It opened 13 crore PMJDY accounts out of 43.94 crore in the industry. So roughly a little less than 1/3 of PMJDY accounts done by State Bank of India. The bank is 215-year-old. Everybody knows that, but I'm not very sure that everybody knows between 2021 between 1921 and 1935, State Bank of India was actually playing the role of India's central bank before the birth of State Reserve Bank of India. So, Kharsab, let's start. You open little less than 1/3 of PMJDY accounts. Tell us, how is it helping financial inclusion?
Well, I think this was one of the best of the steps to have the inclusive banking, because when it comes to 13 crore odd accounts, it's actually helping us to mobilize their savings, enabling them to get their social security benefits. We're in a position to offer them the credit link products also, which we normally call it a basic savings bank account and the overdraft facility. So that way we have been in a position to bring in the generalization of the saving, that also we are in a position to extend them the benefit of various banking facilities. So I think to that extent, it has gone a long way in terms of making it to be a very inclusive effort on the part of the economy and on the part of the bank too, in terms of supporting such initiative.
Kharsab, at least till the COVID hit us hard last March, April, I'm talking about, the popular perception was PMJDY is all about figures and numbers and very little money is kept. But do you see actually it is helping us in terms of spreading inclusion in the financial sector in the right sense of the term, or it's just a number?
No, it is not merely a number. Of course, when we started these accounts, they were all zero balance accounts. And today, on an average, we have got about 2,800 to about 3,000 rupees in each of these accounts. So that is a very healthy sign of some kind of promotion of the thrift on the part of this kind of a population which are not inclusive into the financial system. So I think to that extent, it has led to a situation where now, when it comes to zero balance accounts, they're just about 2% or so. 98% of these accounts have become operative. So I think it has become 98% of these accounts have got balances which are quite reasonable. So I would say that it was a trend which was seen at a point of time when there were zero balance accounts, but today they are going a long way in terms of generalizing the savings and also developing the habit of savings in a larger population of the country.
Yeah, sure. 98% there is balance. So it was not the case earlier. Mr. Khara, State Bank of India, you are a banker for every Indian, you claim, and rural and semi-urban branches is probably about 70% of your total network. So I'm sure this is an advantage for you as far as inclusion is concerned?
Of course, our RUSU branches, which rural and semi-urban branches, are almost about 65%. And for all scheduled commercial bank, it is about 63%. But yes, of course, it is going a long way in terms of supporting our ambition, in terms of mobilizing the savings from all across. And also it goes, I would say, a long distance when it comes to, becoming relevant for a larger population of the country. And it is not merely the branches. I would say that we have got a very large presence of our banking correspondents, which are almost about 70,000 odd correspondents, which are spread out, and they are also our extended arm for reaching out to this segment of population and offer them the banking services. So I think in a way it has really helped in terms of extending the benefit of the formal finance to a very large population, which goes a long way in terms of boosting the job creation and also reducing the vulnerability to the economic shocks. And also it has led to increased investment in the human capital too. So I think it goes a long way in terms of building up the very basic infrastructure for the growth and development of this economy.
Thanks, Kharasab. So you have, in percentage term, you have more presence. Your presence is more than the average presence of the banking industry in rural and semi-urban. I have the numbers on my table: 22,000 branches, 67,000 ATMs, 70,000 customer service points, etc., etc. But Kharasab, since this is the a fireside chat, a little being candid one, not a formal one. I'm asking you a question. You may not like it, but will appreciate if you tell me the right answer. When it comes to actually financing MSMEs and SMEs, which are the backbone of Indian economy, I'm not getting to the numbers, their contribution to GDP, etc., etc. Uh, how are you supporting them as a lender? Because if I'm not mistaken, just about 10% of your loan has the MSME SME exposure, 2.25 trillion. It's too little, sir, isn't that?
I agree with you, and as in fact, typically speaking, SBI has traditionally been a very strong MSME supporter in terms of building up their portfolio. However, I would say that in the last few years, we have seen a fall in our market share also. We are very conscious of this and are taking several initiatives to regain our rightful market share in next 2 to 3 years. Various initiatives which we have thought of in the recent past, and which have actually been implemented on ground, are essentially end-to-end corporate supply chain solutions which we are working on. And we finance MSME vendors, dealers and distributors, kirana and retail traders to cover the entire supply chain ecosystem. Co-lending with NBFC is another initiative which has been taken, and we have entered into these kind of arrangements with some of our co-lending partners who have got access even on the ground much nearer to the borrowers. So that will also go a long way in terms of building up an excellent portfolio. Similarly, small commercial vehicle finance, we are actually tying up with leading OEMs to really support the small commercial vehicle finance. Financing under the various sustainability initiatives like financing solar rooftops, compressed biogas, ethanol projects, etc. That is also something which is actually taking shape, and it will go a long way in terms of really creating this kind of infrastructure in the economy. Even loan to the healthcare sector, we have identified, we have come out with new products, 2 new products. One is Sanjeevani, the other one is Arogyam. This is essentially to really build up the healthcare infrastructure in the country. Apart from that, the One District, One Product initiative by Government of India to promote small-scale industries, and also the recent initiative of the Defence Corridor. This will go a long way in terms of really supporting the MSME and their vendors. That is something which we are really focused on. Export is another big area where we have seen a decent growth, almost about 40% kind of a growth, which we have witnessed in the last 1 year. And that, I believe, will open up many opportunities. And we are very actively involved into the e-forex and e-trade kind of facilities we are offering to our exporters and importers. And also in terms of providing them the cheapest credit, perhaps our export credit is the cheapest. It is almost at about 0% interest rate, because we offer huge opportunities in this direction. I'm sure it will go a long way in terms of supporting the export initiative. Apart from this, further, we are also trying to embark upon the contactless lending platform to improve the customer experience and reduce the turnaround time. We are also exploring the possibilities that how can we get into more and more cash-based financing, because when it comes to SMEs, financing them on the basis of the balance sheet becomes at times quite a challenge. And that is the reason why we felt that the best way for supporting MSMEs is through the cash-based lending, and we are into it now. So as I mentioned that yes, of course, we have seen reasonably decent growth last year, but it is not something which is sufficient for us, and we would actually like to build up our SME book. And for that, these are the initiatives which I just mentioned. These are the initiatives.
Thanks, Mr. Khara. So newer products, newer processes, alliances, co-lending. Plus, I'm sure the increasing digitalization or digitization is also helping you, right? So how are you using this?
As I mentioned, that the supply chain financing and the dealer financing, e-vendor financing, e-dealer financing, these are some of the initiatives which are actually making the life quite easier. It is end-to-end digital, and it hardly involves any kind of a human intervention. Likewise, this contactless lending platform also, wherein the application is submitted online, and in principle approval is granted right away. And thereafter, the process which involves some kind of a due diligence on the ground, that is partially digital, partially physical. So these are the kind of steps which we are taking. And we are also working out the solutions that how can we offer absolutely digital products. Some of them we have already introduced, and some of them we are in the process of introducing.
So, Mr. Kharal, in some sense, is it right that within State Bank of India, we know your initiative. So you are now looking at sort of setting up a DG bank within the bank. Am I correct in interpreting what you are saying? No.
Digibank maybe, but features and facilities which are akin to the Digibank are being offered through the YONO, and we have already come out with our pre-approved business loan, which is essentially we are leveraging analytics based upon all those customers who are maintaining current account with us, and having a look into their transactions and also their behavior. We're in a position to offer the pre-approved business loan, which is absolutely digital. So, this is the way we are going forward. I'm sure we are very eagerly looking at opportunities which can make the life easier for the MSME. And also the participation of the TREDS is something which goes a long way in terms of supporting the receivable financing for the MSMEs. That is the other initiative which we are taking, and we are supporting the TREDS like anything. So these are some of the initiatives which you are taking.
Sure. Mr. Khara, tell me, I can understand that you are reaching out to that segment for inclusive finance. You're changing in every way, the systems, the processes, the products, newer alliances, so it becomes faster, quicker, cheaper. I can understand everything. But one critical part of financial inclusion also, sir, is financial literacy. So I have not heard much, or we have not heard much State Bank of India in that space. Are you also taking special initiative for this spreading financial literacy in the so-called bottom of the pyramid?
Yeah, in fact, we have set up the financial literacy centers in all the lead districts for providing this financial literacy and the credit counseling to all the segments of the society. We have actually set up about 341 FLCs across 29 states and 3 union territories of the country. This is essentially used for through face-to-face interaction. We are trying to educate the customers about the features of various financial products, including deposit, loan, insurance, and digital products. We are also educating the customers about internet banking, uses of the UPI, and also these are the trainings which really help them in general to have a better financial planning. And also it also creates inculcate the habit of the financial prudence among the participants. When we are on this job, we also engage with various kind of target customers. It would be the farmers, micro and small entrepreneurs, school children, SHGs, senior citizens, and we have this kind of an audience into one particular group, and we offer them this kind of, we host such camps at least once a month for each of the target group, and we try to disseminate information relating to financial product. We also educate the customers relating to the various products which are available in the payment systems, and how can they be aware of, when it comes to some kind of security which is required to be practiced by them, being the consumer of the digital services. So what are protections they should take? Even that is also been disseminated.
Thanks, Mr. Khara. So tell us, when you talk about inclusive growth, then where are your, say, State Bank of India, you have subsidiaries in various spaces, be it call it mutual fund, insurance, etc., etc. So is it bank alone, or you use them also for inclusion, your insurance and mutual fund subsidiaries?
Yeah, in fact, I would say that the way we claim to be the banker to the every Indian, similarly, Our mutual fund has got an ambition to be the fund manager to every Indian, and this they claim to offer through the Jan Nivesh, the way Jan Dhan Yojana has come in, likewise Jan Nivesh. Recently, they had come out with the product which was distributed across almost 95% of the PIN codes in the country. So it was essentially a product which was meant for the risk appetite of the customers of that particular segment, and it was something which became very popular. Likewise, when it comes to our insurance companies, they also offer them. In fact, in the mutual fund, we also offer SIPs, and which actually really creates a habit for investing into the financial instruments over a period of time, and also it helps them in managing their risk also very well. So that is something which is being done by the mutual fund. Likewise, when it comes to insurance, they are very actively involved into offering the products and services which helps in securing the assets on ground. Our general insurance company offers a personal accident insurance, which is very cheap insurance, and actually it really takes care of the accident risk of the common population. And similarly, they are also very actively participating into the Jan Dhan Yojana, this Jeevan Bima, and also the Jeevan Suraksha Yojana. They are very actively participating. So I think the ethos of the service, the customer service, and the customer service across the country is something which has been imbibed by all the companies, and they are offering the products and services which suits the financial risk appetite and the financial needs of a very large population of the country. And we feel very happy that the ethos of the bank have got imbibed into these companies also.
Okay, Mr. Karan, now let's talk about the flavor of the season. We have still about 13-14 minutes to go. So I want to understand that that ESG, the green finance. Okay, it not exactly, we can't call it an integral part of inclusive growth, but I think when you talk about inclusion in the financial sector, we also need to talk about this green financing. I know that recently you raised some green bond, but what are you doing? I mean, I'm just going beyond people, migrant laborers, and the people at the bottom of the pyramid. What are you doing for the environment? In that sense, it's also part of the inclusive growth. So tell us, country's largest commercial bank, 1/5 of the banking industry. You say you have just now you said that not you alone, the entire group ethos is inclusive growth. Tell us, how do you care for environment?
Sure. Thank you very much. To actually give impetus to the clean energy financing, bank has put in place a renewable energy policy, wherein we have offered several concessions, including pricing, waiver of premium, increased tenure of the loan. These enablers actually, when combined with constant alignment with the rapidly changing dynamics of energy landscape, have earned bank the leadership position in renewable energy footprints of the country. We have sanctioned more than 38,000 crores for renewable energy projects, and they are contributing 14 gigawatts towards the country's renewable energy target of 175 gigawatt by 2022. We have also partnered with the World Bank and KfW for financing ground-mounted and rooftop solar projects at concessional rates. So far, solar projects worth about $500 million have been sanctioned under the lines of credit availed from the World Bank and KfW. Also, when it comes to MSME segment, it actually accounts for 25% of the overall energy consumption in the industrial sector. There are many MSMEs who are willing to switch their electricity supply to renewable energy through rooftop solar units. They actually face challenge in financing. So we are trying to support them in terms of supporting such kind of funding. Also, when it comes to rooftop solar system, it is actually gaining currency with various households too. And there also we are trying to support such kind of requirements of the household, I believe that there is a considerable scope for improvement and further penetration in these two areas across the country. Being the largest bank, we are also exploring ways and means to strengthen the existing financing arrangement of these rooftop solar financing through various types with some leading rooftop solar companies in India. We are establishing ties with an intention to offer this at one-stop financing solution is something which we have in mind. We have also introduced, financing for e-rickshaws, green car loan, fleet financing scheme, for EV financing of commercial vehicles, as financing of the solar photovoltaic pump sets, compressed biogas, and sustainable alternate towards affordable transportation schemes. We actually aim to become carbon neutral by the year 2030, and we have taken several such initiatives to reduce banks' carbon footprints. We have actually we have installed 35 megawatt solar and wind power plant at banks' various offices. And also we have installed intelligent power management software resulting in energy saving of almost about 9 gigawatt in the financial year 2021. Some of our flagship establishments have also received the Indian Green Building Council certification. So I think we are making all-round efforts when it comes to supporting green initiatives of the economy. We raised about 800 million worth of green bonds too, which were listed, which had a dual listing, one on the GIFT City and the other one on the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. So we are quite conscious in terms of the requirement of the society, and being the responsible corporate citizen, I'm sure we'll be much ahead in terms of our actions too.
Great to know that, Mr. Khara. Tell us, we can't have any discussion now with a banker like you without referring to COVID. As we speak, I think some time back, a few hours back, I saw S&P Global release talking that global rating for the banks now getting better, more positive. So tell us, what's your take on COVID? Is the worst behind us? I mean, this is nothing to do for inclusion as such, but it's all about growth and economy. I'm sure our audience would love to hear you very briefly. Where are we as far as COVID pandemic is concerned, when it comes to banking sector?
Yeah, I agree with you that I think we all felt that everything is hunky-dory, everything is fine, but Omicron virus has injected an element of uncertainty. Though the infection appears to be milder, but I think it is better to remain on, not let the safety guards down, and not letting our guard down is a better practice. Though the new variant is reported to be more transmissible, so far its severity is not like the one which was seen in the second wave. As far as the various operations are concerned, I think our various continuity plan are very much in place. Migration to digital and alternate channels has also helped us in meeting the new challenges. With respect to the credit growth, I would say that many companies had deferred their expansion plan and put up capex on hold in the wake of COVID-19. But presently, demand for fund, particularly greenfield projects or brownfield expansion, appears to be limited. This is due to the fact that the capacity is still underutilized. But still, I would say that we have started seeing some kind of attraction. The unavailed credit limits are coming down significantly, and in last 2 months' time, we have seen a definite growth in the corporate credit. Retail was always doing well, so I think it will continue to witness a good growth. But corporate, the last 2 months' trend, if at all it sustains, I'm sure it will go a long way in terms of supporting the credit growth in the economy. which eventually will result into the overall growth in the economy too.
Oh,
So that's what my sense is.
great to hear. The boss of India's largest bank is saying that corporate credit growth has started the last 2 months. Khalsa, we have 5 more minutes, so let me ask you. Yes, we can. I have many questions actually, but let me focus on two. One is this. One of the offshoots of pandemic is digital disruption. Right. And now I'm asking you, how do you see this? Is it a boon or a bane? Like for a bank like yours, because you are much, much bigger. I know, I mean, I've been talk that now elephant can't dance, elephant is dancing, referring to State Bank of India. But I would like to hear your thing, and particularly in the context of, I think it was in the third week of November, probably to 17th November, our Prime Minister met all the bankers, where probably you are also there, and there he spoke about, let's change your approach. It's not a data grahita, it's a partnership between bank and the borrowers, lender and the borrowers is partnership. And he also spoke about that what you are armed with the data, and that's an offshoot of digitalization. So you have enormous data, and that can help you to actually give credit in a very different way, and that can be again comes to that all-inclusive growth. So your quick take, sir.
Thank you. Well, of course, everything came to almost a standstill and life was forced to be confined in the four walls. A ray of hope actually emerged in the form of the digitization. It actually kept the ball rolling. Confined to four walls, also the awareness could happen, and that is something which you have witnessed almost from the second quarter onwards of the first wave. So the previous year itself, we had underwritten almost about 15,000 crore worth of pre-approved business loan, which are all digitized end to end. And this year also till now, we have almost done about 1,000 crore of the digital loans. So this is something which is very positive, and I think the digitization got adopted at almost at a very rapid pace. The flip to the e-commerce actually has opened up many opportunities. Flip to e-commerce led to creation of whole lot of infrastructure relating to, when it comes to storage, etc. So it's a new opportunity altogether. It's a new economy, I would say, that which has got really opened up post-COVID. So I think to that extent, of course, when it comes to post-COVID, we are seeing that much better adoption of technology. And what you mentioned in terms of the Honorable Prime Minister's address to the bankers, wherein he has advocated for the partnership among the bankers and the borrowers, I very strongly believe that this is a way forward, because when it comes to the new initiatives being taken in terms of PLI, when it comes to new initiative taken in terms of defense corridor, the new effort of the economy towards export, we're all, I would say that very, very keen to really look into that. How can we collaborate with the entrepreneurs? How can we offer them the comfort of really borrowing and also supporting the economic activity in the country? So that I believe is more of a collaborative effort, and I'm sure it will go a long way in terms of building a.
Good to hear that, Kharasab. So it's not redefining the lender-borrower relationship. It's partnership, it's collaboration. Kharasab, we are almost completed our time, but I'm tempted to ask you a last question briefly. It's a very, very tough balancing act for State Bank of India, because you are the largest lender. On the one hand, we expect you to lend to infrastructure, build India, logistic. From the logistic point of view. On the other hand, we want you to lend to the corporate India, and at the same time, we want you also to go to the hinterland and reach out to the bottom of the pyramid, to the last mile, and go for inclusive growth. So, how do you manage this balancing act, and how do you keep happy all the constituents, like your customers, your employees, your owner, majority owner of the government of India, and also your investors? That's my last question, sir.
Thank you. Very interesting question. But I would say that given our pedigree and the reach, we have a very diversified banking book and cater to all the sectors of economy and the society. We finance from agriculture to infrastructure and from MSME to large corporates, from salaried class to self-employed to the pensioners. Strategy has been to broad-base our asset book and minimize the concentration risk and simultaneously improve our risk management skills. We are digitizing our operations in a big way to manage costs and avoid frictions and also enhance the value for all the stakeholders. I would say that we have trained our people in a manner so that they should be in a position to deal with the total bandwidth of the customer segment, and also they should be in a position to acquire the requisite skill in no time to deal with the new set of customers too. And that's how we have seen the adoption of technology in the bank. That's how we have seen our ability to offer the technology solutions to the customers. That's how we have seen how can we build up a better ROA and ROE, which will satisfy our stakeholders, more so the shareholders, and also when it comes to the international investors also, it should satisfy their expectation as well, which actually helps us in a long way in raising resources which are very essential for the growth of any bank. So I'm happy to share that as far as AT1 is concerned, we can claim that we have revived the AT1 market, despite the fact that the insurance, the mutual funds are not permitted to participate. But the kind of rates at which we could raise AT1 is a very clear reflection of the confidence of the investors into the bank. So I think to that extent, I believe that we have been in a position to satisfy the expectation of all our stakeholders.
Thank you, Mr. Khara. I think I'm sure you have a very good night's sleep every night because looking at the stock market, there is absolutely no worries. I mean, I can't remember when SBI stock was doing so well last. So that's all from my side. I wish we had a little longer time, but all good things need to come to an end. Thank you, Mr. Khara. Thank you for your time, and thank you. And I must say that you are extremely well prepared. So I couldn't trap you. So anyway, thank you. Over to you, Minal.
Thank you very much, Tamalji. Thank you.
Minal. Thank you very much, Tamal, and thank you, Mr. Khara, for the insights and the discussion. Sir, SBI being the largest public sector bank, the importance and the responsibility of leading the financial inclusion campaign itself is very huge. And your perspectives on, the experiences of the bank, the challenges, the new strategies that are being planned out, in terms of advancing financial inclusion, as well as influencing the micro, kind of entrepreneurship ecosystem is very valuable to the audience in India as well as globally who are participating in this summit. I thank you profusely for your participation today. The discussion, Tamal, has left, with a lot of food for thought for all of us in terms of what are the synergies that we can work on in terms of both influencing the financial inclusion as well as the micro and small enterprise segment itself. Thank you, Tamal, very much for hosting this fireside chat. And again, Kharaji, thank you very much for your participation today. We are blessed and delighted. We will now close this fireside session, and do stay in tune for IFI awards that are coming up. Thank you very much to everyone for joining this session. Thank you. Have a pleasant evening. Bye. Thank you very much.